Number 1. Let me start off by saying this is a very true story. I'm a 16-year-old girl, and in my hometown, there's a lot of old houses built back in the 1800s, but the majority of them are new houses. I happened to get a babysitting gig with another girl because their kids were so hard to take care of that they felt the need for 2 babysitters. I wasn't very familiar with babysitting, seeing as I've only taken care of my cousin from time to time, but I went to the house anyways. And after picking up the girl who was going to be helping me with the kids, let me just say, this house looked like a murder house. And naturally, this was one of the houses built in the 1800s, so it had that eeriness and creakiness to it. I shook off the feeling and went in to meet the parents. They explained to us that we would need to watch their kids from 4 to 11 p.m. Sounds good to me. The kids and I got along great, and I didn't have any problem keeping their names straight, unlike the other girl, who did nothing but play on her phone. She didn't help with the kids at all. But still, things were going fine until 9:30 p.m. when I had to put one of the kids down for sleep, while the other girl put another one of the kids down for sleep, leaving only one kid left awake. This kid was old enough to go to bed on his own. Once all of them were finally asleep, something happened. And to this day, we still can't explain how these things happened. The first thing that happened was the intercom that was in the parents' office and basement started playing static, and weird moans came from it. We could hear footsteps running around and moving plastic bags. Then I heard a grown man laugh close to where the kids were. And then I bolted up the stairs as fast as I could with a motherly instinct to protect them. And when I got up there, they were all fine. They even had a guard dog to protect them upstairs. But you never know what can happen. This was, of course, 1 week from Halloween, so that creepy mood was already in the air. Things only got weirder from that point on. We kept hearing noises, unexplainable noises, and the girl I was with just hid in the bathroom and was no help at all. So I grabbed one of the guard dogs to keep with me, since I wasn't downstairs a whole lot, because every time I heard one of these noises near the kids' room, I would run up there to make sure they were safe. So I made a lot of trips upstairs. And uncharacteristically, out of nowhere, the dog snaps and bites me, even biting the other girl I was with. I had to do something to protect the girl, even if I didn't like her, so we left it outside. At 11 p.m., the parents finally came home, and we told them everything that happened. The dad went to the basement and saw that the intercom was turned on, and the girl's food bag that she was eating off of was down there. I wasn't scared, but I'm still trying to figure out why any of that happened or what it was. I started looking into the history of that house to see if anything suspicious has happened, and so far I haven't found anything. We have a lot of supposedly haunted places where I live. Creepy stuff. Number 2. I'm a female, and this took place approximately 14 years ago, when I was around 9 years old. My mother, my 2 younger brothers, and I had recently located to a city about an hour away from where we had previously lived. My parents had just separated, and my mom could not afford much on her own. Thus, we moved into a small 3-bedroom apartment in a not-so-nice area of town. To give a slight idea on the type of area, there was often used condoms, needles, and sometimes marks of blood in the stairwells of our building. Due to the fact that my mom is now a single parent and no longer had anyone to stay with us during the day, my mom put out an ad in our building requesting a babysitter. Shortly after placing the ad, my mom was contacted by a 16-year-old girl named Melissa who lived in a nearby apartment a few floors up. After meeting with Melissa face to face for a brief period of time, my mom decided that, aside from the obvious emotional phase she was in, she presented to be quite normal and offered her the position. For the first couple of days, Melissa was fine. We actually all got along quite well. However, a few weeks in, things took a turn for the worse. Melissa began her reign of terror by putting myself and my siblings in the corner for 2 or more hours at a time, not even allowing us to sit or use the restroom, eat or drink, for reasons that were in no way justified. As time progressed, she began threatening us with sharp objects, such as knives and scissors, when we refused to do exactly what she said. This ultimately turned into her simply chasing us up and down the hallway of our apartment with those sharp objects for pure amusement. At the end of the hallway on the left side was the bathroom. I generally ran as fast as I could at these times and locked myself in there before she could catch me. She would then stand outside the door, taunting me, lightly stabbing at the door and running the object under the door frame so that I could see it. I would spend at least an hour, if not more, hiding in the bathroom until she would cease taunting me. After a few minutes of silence, I would crack the door open, only to see my mom's porcelain bride doll perched right outside. I've always been horrified of porcelain dolls, and she was well aware of that. Due to my terror, I would either continue to hide until she decided it was getting close to the time my mom was due to arrive home and would force me out, or I would kick the doll and run into my room. Melissa made chasing us with steak knives, scissors, and sometimes around Christmas, the metal icicle ornaments off of the tree almost a daily occurrence. Due to the fact that I was the eldest, I was generally the victim of her amusement. On top of this, she began to play mind games with us. She started telling me consistently that if I jumped off the balcony, that I could fly, to the point where I began having vivid dreams depicting exactly that. Mind you, we were on the 14th floor. To top things off, she brought a friend of hers named Emily over one day after we all got out of school. Both of them forced my siblings and I to sit on the couch in the living room, facing them as they sat on the floor. They'd closed all the curtains to make the room as dark as possible and lit a candle in between the two of them. They began speaking in what sounded like a different language. This went on for 15 to 30 minutes. After ending whatever it was they were doing, they got up, opened the curtains, blew out the candles, and began acting as if nothing ever happened. Upon questioning their actions, they simply replied with, "What are you talking about?" Nothing happened until we stopped asking. These encounters went on for the duration of the year that we resided in that building, until my mom finally got a new job and relocated us again. We only recently informed her of these events, and she was beyond shocked and upset. She didn't understand why we didn't tell her about it sooner. However, after explaining how she would constantly threaten us if we said anything, she began to understand. Needless to say, I was more than overjoyed to hear the news of relocating and hoped I would never see her again. A few years later, while visiting my dad, he took us to McDonald's, and lo and behold, Melissa was behind the cash register taking our order. My brothers and I froze in our tracks and had to recuperate ourselves before placing our order. After receiving our food, we checked it to ensure it was not tampered with and went on our way. Neither of us have seen Melissa since. Number 3. Earlier today, I was talking about the house I grew up in. We were talking about some of our creepy neighbors we've had over the years, and We remembered this particular incident that happened in the late 90s. When I was around 3.5, my mom got pregnant with my brother. She was due in 2 weeks, so she was working from home. Across the street, there was a family with 2 girls. The youngest was my age, and the oldest was about 14 or 15. Her name was Dora, and she would sometimes watch her sister and me play while my mom worked. On this particular day, my mom was really tired, so she trusted Dora to come over with her sister and watch us play while my mom rested for a little. My mom said that during her sleep, she suddenly woke up and had a really bad feeling, so she went downstairs to check on all of us. When she got downstairs, she heard a muffled, "Mommy, help." She recognized my voice immediately and ran to the living room. And what she found was Dora sitting on the middle couch cushion, and it was kind of lumpy and higher than the other cushions. She asked Dora where I was, and she only smiled and said, "She's gone." My mom then grabbed Dora and made her get off, and then took the couch cushion and found me stuffed in the couch, barely still breathing. Dora literally tried to suffocate me. My mom picked me up and told Dora she had to leave with her sister. It goes without saying that she was never allowed to watch me again. And to this day, my mom said the look on her face was so sinister that she knew for a fact what she was doing. What 14-year-old sits on a 3-year-old? My mom was extremely creeped out and relieved when they moved away a few months later. Maybe she was just overreacting, but you never know. In retrospect, Dora's little sister always had bruises on her. My parents just assumed it was because she was 3 and just always running around. But looking back, I can't help but wonder if it was from Dora. Wouldn't surprise me.